How's everybody doing? Come on, how's everybody doing chatting here on the front row? Are you guys doing okay? Oh, come on, come on. This is an afternoon crowd. Are we doing okay? Woo! Okay, you guys, we have an amazing person, Mr. Michael Praeger, on today, and we are going to be talking about AvidXchange and how to build and grow a unicorn. Who wants to be a unicorn here? All right, you guys, he is an overnight success. Literally overnight. It took him 18 years, right? That's an overnight. That is actually, in my opinion, a true startup, a true company who takes it from nothing to something big and is scaling that over time. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about that. He first started off in the venture capital world as a venture capital and private equity guy. And now, today, he turned entrepreneur and serial entrepreneur. He's started now 3 different companies. He's also an avid surfer. Welcome on stage, Mike.
Thanks, John. So, I'm from Charlotte, and there's not a lot of big waves in Charlotte, but it's wake surfing, not traditional surfing. So a little bit about AvidXchange. We're a software company, and we automate the accounts payable process and payment process for middle market companies. Typically, those companies between $5 million and $1 billion of revenue. And we execute it through a suite of software combined with a large payment network that we use as a leverage point. As John said, we've been actually at this 18 years. And in the B2B world, it's actually hard to execute a payment process because there's a lot of accounting system integration that has to happen. But the benefit is it becomes really sticky for our customers. So we've enjoyed over 6,000 customers, 95% customer retention because of that. And it's a lot easier to grow faster if you don't have to replace customers every year. The other piece of it is we're supported by about 1,200 teammates. But the growth of our payment network, we now have over 150,000 supplier customers in our payment network that we're being leveraged. And one of the secrets to our success has been around innovation. And so we're really big believers that, hey, not only do you have to keep evolving your products and focus on scalability, but we call it game-changing innovation. What are you going to do to really change the economic backdrop for your customers, make a real difference in their business? In the B2B world is a little bit different than consumers, has been my experience, and that it's not only a great customer experience, it's also a big, high-impact economic impact that you have to make for your customers. And so this just gives you an example. Over the last 3 years, in focusing in innovation involving our platform, we get a lot of stuff out to our customers, over 234 releases of our platform last year alone. And we're big believers in getting small incremental things out and seeing what the customer experience is in, and then build on those as we provide more value to our customers. So just kind of quickly is, what's been kind of our secret to our success? The first one is, I think, being passionate about everything you do. It's contagious, and especially as a leader, being passionate about providing the vision to what we're doing has been key to how we get 1,200 employees focused in a single direction and a single mission. Be curious. That's one of the recruiting mechanisms that we use, is we want people to be really curious, constant learners, and that's a big impact on the innovation of the business and how we're always evolving. Relentless focus. It's a war on talent. We believe that. We're in Charlotte. We recruit all over the country. We love, recruiting and hiring software developers from Silicon Valley, Boston, Austin, and any place else, and bring them to the Charlotte ecosystem, as we've had a great success with. And then persevere. And the biggest thing I can say about persevere is listen to your customers. It's a lot easier to get through the darkest times and the most difficult times if you're letting your customer drive what they want you to do to support them. And that's been key to us in terms of how we've persevered through both the ups and downs, product innovation that didn't work, all those type of things. And the last thing I'll leave you with is I think you have to dream big. If you're going to grow a big company, you have to have a big dream, and you have to have that dream believed in by your teammates. So that's it for me in terms of some of the characteristics in building our business. And
all right, let's do this.
I'll join you, John.
All right. Today, let's talk a little bit about building a unicorn. What unicorn? Wow, you're a unicorn, right?
Well, I'm not really sure what a unicorn really means, other than you perhaps got a big valuation on some round of funding.
That is true.
So to me, they're not necessarily that connected to the business itself, maybe in a roundabout way. But our focus as a company is, what are we doing to grow the best business that we can build with the right people, the right offerings, have a big impact to customers, and then kind of the unicorn valuation stuff kind of takes care of itself.
Tell me about the early days. Like, how did it start? You know, what were those first, like, hey, that bright idea that you had?
Yeah, so I think, of AvidXchange, we're really on kind of, say, V4 of AvidXchange. That's kind of version 4. Version 1 in the early days was, we're just trying to figure out what business we were in.
Yeah.
We didn't really know. Our first product we launched as a company, we thought was pretty exciting. We did it in Times Square in New York City. It's the only product we don't have today. Because
I love it. It was huge.
Yeah, it was huge, and we thought it was huge, but it's the only product we don't have at the time. And the reason being is because our customers led us to, there was an alternative type of offering they thought would have more impact to their business versus the original idea that we had.
So in those beginning days, how important was, I know a lot of entrepreneurs are in the beginning days of their business, and they're typically 1 to 5 people. So if you could take us back to that time, I know that was a couple years ago, but like, what was key during those beginning days that set you up for success that you didn't realize were setting you up for success later down the road?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that's really important for companies, if you go through different evolutions of your growth, different milestones of growth, is to have the right types of people involved at each stage.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, in those early days, it's just, brute force, living in a foxhole with a handful of teammates, just trying to survive, right? And that takes a certain type of person. We recently hired an awesome chief operating officer, Steve Bone from eBay. He ran global client delivery at eBay. And Steve's a great chief operating officer for us today with 1,200 employees and with, where we are as a company. But he would not have been a great employee back in the early days just because we just, you need people that are hands-on, be able to run the business and really entrepreneurial, and you're not really focused on scale at that point. You're focused on survival. Yeah. And when you start focusing on scale, it's an entirely different skill set of people that you need.
Yeah, so, going back, it seems like a lot of people in here, again, startups and that, what your advice to them would be is, the people in the beginning of the business are going to grow, and you're going to need different people at different stages in your startup.
Yeah.
So did you have those people in mind when you were starting it, or was it just, hey, we're at this point now? I mean, obviously, looking back 18 years, you weren't saying, oh, this guy's going to be this.
It'd be great to say, yeah, we were that smart to do that. And the answer is, we weren't probably that smart because we learned through failure. Early on, as like kind of our year or two, we actually hired a chief operating officer of the business, and it lasted like 6 months because we just, the business wasn't mature enough to have somebody like that in our business. The other thing that is probably the most difficult thing that I've had to work through is when we get to different tiers of growth, some of those people that were just awesome superstars in the early days, maybe they're not in the right role when you get to a certain scale. And what do you do with them, right? And so we've been, pretty successful of getting people in the right roles, and it may be a different type of leadership role, but they still have high impact to the business. But those are really difficult discussions. Take lots of breakfast, lunch, dinners to get some of those people, comfortable with how the executive team needs to evolve.
So what's been your biggest mistake you've made?
Well,
in this whole journey, you've made a lot of them.
We've made a lot.
You guys, he's made a lot of mistakes. Yeah. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah. So besides, our first product, which ends up being the first, really, the biggest, product that didn't work, is I would say that we probably ran the company too close to the edge from a cash liquidity perspective while we were kind of in our mid-tier growth, because we wanted to preserve dilution.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I mean, we are just one customer away from quitting to having a catastrophic outcome, right? And in hindsight, it would have been maybe those couple points of dilution. I would have rather have known that we had had a little more, powder in the tank, and worked through some of those. And thank God it all worked out, but it could have very easily have, been the other direction as well.
Would you say not having powder in the tank made you the company you are today?
Well, that's the flip side of it, right, is that it forces us to be really entrepreneurial. And one of the things that we did a pretty good job at when it was, really difficult to raise capital was we focused on our customers. And for about 3 years, from 2002, say to 2006, 2007, we didn't raise any outside capital. It was all raised from our customers, and customers prepaying us for software subscription and license fees. And it was because customers going to believe in that vision.
How do you get a customer to prepay you? I've heard this time and time again on these unicorn stages that they had customers believe in them. It must have mean, obviously, you had an amazing customer, but how do you get to the decision maker who will write you that check?
I think it starts by, you have to do things that are totally non-scalable when you're in an early stage business. And part of, things that are non-scalable is me going out and meeting with all these early customers and developing a personal relationship with them. And, looking them in the eye and saying, trust me, this is going to work. Yeah. And a lot of guys saying, this better work because my job's on the line. You guys are automating a key financial back office process. And by the way, when we got started, the idea of putting financial data, in a hosted or in a cloud type environment was a foreign concept to them. And so there was a lot of evangelizing what we're doing that had to occur. And it was a lot of me going out and getting people to believe in what we're doing.
Yeah, quick final question for you. We have about a minute left. Giving advice to these entrepreneurs in the room, looking back, what advice would you give yourself as the most important thing in building a unicorn?
I would say let your customers lead you to focusing on solving the most important problems. I have a saying, internally when we have an influx of all kinds of ideas for our product roadmap. My first question to our product team is, how much is our customers going to pay us for that feature? And if the answer is, well, they're not really going to pay us anything for it, it's just, we think it's a good thing for them to have, I'm like, we're not focused on solving a big enough problem. Yeah. And if you're focused on solving a big enough problem, your customers will pay you for it. And so I kind of encourage everybody, the people that I mentor, and saying, what problem are you solving? Will customers pay you for it? And how much are they going to pay you for it?
Yeah, time and time again, you guys, really, you got to focus on things that people are willing to pay you for. You guys, venture capital money will only be there for so long. If you guys are just giving away free products, free, it will eventually end. So I love that. Great note to end on. Hey, you guys, let's give Mike a great round of applause. Thanks, Mike. It's great.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Cheers.